Okay, just sit yourself onto a lift. So we've been doing some kind of recovery stuff this week. I've had a really bad, slightly lingery cold-ish thing this week, and keeps on coming and going. So this week has been all about just getting back on your feet, recovery. So we've been starting off on the floor in uttanasana, but it's good to start the session or just to come back on a Friday into cross legs. So just hold onto your knees, lift up into the heart area, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that isn't moving. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Just spend a moment just focusing on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Just spend a few moments with uddanic breath. This is the breath in the sinus region. So try it when you exhale and inhale. Try and flush out through the sinuses. So it's quite a forceful exhalation. So just a normal inhalation through the nose, and then an exhalation through the nose, forcibly flushing out the sinuses. So it's quite noisy. So a few just deep uddanic inhalations and exhalations, just to flush out the lingering brain fog from just any ailments. And then just bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. Just focusing on normal uddanic breath. Focusing the breath in the sinuses. So we'll do just a few more breaths. And then release your hands, bring your hands into Namaste. Close your eyes with an exhalation and then maintain those uddanic breaths. It can make you feel a little lightheaded, so if it does, just go back to normal breaths. Just focusing on inhalations and exhalations. The uddanic exhalation can trigger the kind of snore impulse, that kind of snore at the back of the throat, but don't worry about that. Push the exhalation up into the area behind the eyes. Breathe into the area behind the eyes. bring the breath back to normal. Just normal pranic breaths, breathing with the focus into the lungs. Feeling the expansion and elevation of the chest with the inhalation, and the relaxation of the chest with the exhalation. With an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet the chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart, in the heart area. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Just bring the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb. Just a gesture of wisdom, of physical intelligence, and of peacefulness that we can bring into our practice as an intention. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Just hold onto your knees and lift up into the chest. Elevate the heart area upwards and draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just continue with a few Udanic inhalations and exhalations. So it's breath with the focus on kind of flushing out the sinuses. We can do a couple of alternate nostril breaths. So we can do 10. So remember, you bring your right hand onto your forehead, and then you cover the left nostril with your ring finger, and then you release, and then you cover the thumb with the right side of your nose with your thumb. So just one at a time. So you take a deep exhalation and then an inhalation, and then you swap. So just take some normal breaths. Normal inhalations, normal exhalations. Take a normal inhalation and then cover the left nostril. And then an exhalation and an inhalation through the right. And then swap. Exhalation, inhalation, and then swap. And then we'll continue until we've done 10. And then release the nose, end on an exhalation. And then take some normal inhalations, normal exhalations. Just observing how perhaps our foggy brain becomes less foggy, Hold onto your knees, elevate the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation, and then with an exhalation, turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across. Drawing your abdomen across and your ribs and your shoulders, keeping your neck soft and just looking forwards, turning from the abdomen and the ribs and the shoulders, keeping the neck just still and soft. Shoulders away from the ears, digging the back hand into the floor so that you roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. Come back to the center, just take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left with the exhalation, and then breathe normally. So breathing into the lungs, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. And then come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest. Just observe how the physical body is feeling. And then come off your lift, come down onto your seat bones, and then just let the shins make contact, make good contact with the ground. Press the shin bones into the shin skin so that the thighs activate, lift up into the heart area, and then come forwards, stretching forwards, lengthening forwards, keeping the heart area lifted. Spread your fingers, spread your palms, and bring your forehead down. Just come up onto your knees, bring your palms as wide apart as they can go, and then come up into dog down, just lifting the seat bones. Bend your knees if you need to access the seat bones. It's always a good way to get extra lift. And then straighten your legs. Let your head hang down. Just fill the lungs from the bottom to the top. So the pranic breath. So the udanic breath is the breath into the sinus region. The pranic breath is the breath focused around the lungs, around the upper part of the body. So fill the lungs from the bottom to the top. Fill them evenly. And empty your lungs from the top to the bottom. Activate the legs, lift the fronts of the thighs all the way up to the top of the leg, up to the hip socket. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, turn the shins inwards.
Observe that space at the end of the in-breath where you can extend a little more deeply. Where you can fill the body with the pose. And then step the feet forwards, come up into a standing position, and then get a couple of blocks for your hands for half uttanasana. So bring your feet as wide apart as your mat, lining the edge of your feet up precisely with the edge of the mat. Spread your toes, spread the toes, lift the kneecaps, lift up into the chest. Have your hands on your hips and wing your elbows towards each other. Lift up into the heart area, keep the legs straight by tightening the kneecaps, and then hinge at the hips, keeping the head lifted. We're not trying to bring the head to the ground. Reach down and find the blocks. Bring the blocks underneath your shoulders if they're not underneath your shoulders. Excuse me. So reactivate your legs like you were doing in dog down. Lift the slab of the thigh muscle up to the top of the leg. Turning the top of the leg inwards. Lift the seat bones. If you remember that little action button at the very top of the thigh that we were using a couple of weeks ago, pressing the thumb into the center of the thigh right at the top of the leg, press that into the hip socket, press that into the back of the leg. Just spend a few moments just observing whether you are working evenly in the legs, whether it feels even in the legs, the activation is even on both sides, like a mirror image of each other. If you can go down lower, then do, but not at the expense of losing the extension of the legs or the spine. Keep the legs really firmly and evenly activated. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And then bend your knees to find the floor if you haven't reached the floor. And then walk your hands towards the end of your mat and then come back into dog down, back into Adho Mukha Svanasana. So lift out of the hands, lift out of the feet. Fill the lungs from the bottom to the top. Just focusing on the breath. If the brain feels foggy, then go back to the Udanic breath. Just feel that there is evenness of action, that the left side and the right side feels like it's working precisely and evenly, and that there's even action between the action of the legs and the action of the arms and the spine, that you're not working solely in the arms or solely in the legs. You're distributing your effort evenly throughout the entire body, throughout the left side, the right side, and throughout each of the extremities. Okay, step your feet forwards and then come back up into the standing position. Just be in Tadasana. So have the inner edge of your feet together, just lifting the chest.
Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, listening to the breath. Just focusing on that pranic breath. It brings you energy. If your brain is still feeling foggy, then go back to the uddanic breath. Otherwise, pranic breathing. Breathing into from the bottom of the lungs to the top, and from the top of the lungs to the bottom with the out breath. Bring your arms out nice and wide in toward your chest, and then step or jump your feet nice and wide for trikonasana. Turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out, and then face forwards. Spread the fingers, spread the palms, turn the legs, so rotate the legs evenly in the sockets, and then find the shin and look up if you can, breathing in and out through the nose. Again, if you're feeling a little foggy, go for uddanic, otherwise pranic breath, or maybe a combination of the two. But this pose in itself will just help to clear out the sinuses, as long as the head is looking upwards. If there's any discomfort in the neck, then you just look forwards or down. Just have a quick look down, just make sure that your head is directly over your foot. And then look back up again. If it's not over your foot, then lift the chest a little more. Activate those legs evenly. Come back to the centre. Just swap the feet around, turn the right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out. Just feel that they are that your feet are in the right place. So this front heel should be in line with the instep of the back foot. Just feel that it's in the right place. And then just have a quick look, just make sure that it is. And then come over into trikonasana, looking up. And then come back to the centre, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together, and then come back into Tadasana. Just observe your energy, observe your balance, just listen to the sound of the breath. So we can do uttanasana, but with the feet together. So the uttanasana we do at the beginning is with the feet apart. Uttanasana with the feet together is a little more challenging. So even if you can reach the floor really easily when you've got your feet apart, have some blocks for when you do it with your feet together, because it won't be as easy to reach the floor. If you've got a bad back, then you might not want to go down very far. You might want to just come forwards and bring your hands onto the top of a tabletop or a windowsill or the back of a chair, and work like that so that you don't kind of overdo it in your back. So just coming to Tadasana initially, just have the inner edge of your feet together, and then the really important thing for forward bending is to give yourself space in the hips, and that comes from the turning in of the thighs. So turn the fronts of the thighs inwards. So the counteraction of that, or the reaction of that, is that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards. So turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, so that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards, and then tuck the tailbone in. Just lift up into the chest, stretch your arms down to the floor with purpose. And then raise your arms up, virasana. So if you've got a bad back, you might want to come forwards with your hands on your hips, and then you come halfway and reach down to the blocks. Otherwise, come forwards with the head lifted, with the arms lifted. Come forwards, hinging at the hips, keeping the head lifted and the arms lifted, and then reach down and bring the blocks again underneath your shoulders. So keep turning those thighs inwards. It might make your heels want to separate a little. That's fine, just allow that to happen. Turn the fronts of the shins inwards. And then push the kneecaps through to the backs of the knees. Push the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs. Turn the backs of the thighs outwards. And then pick up the seat bones, lift the seat bones high. Project the chin and the chest forwards. Hit your weight into your heels. Project the chin and the chest forwards, keep the head lifted. We're trying to concave in the shoulder blade region, drawing the shoulder blades in. If you can go down any lower, then do, but not at the expense of this. We don't want that. That's just, well, it's going to hurt your back as much as anything. But keep the legs straight, keep the spine extending forwards. Keep the weight back in your heels. Hit the shins back, turn the shins inwards, turn the fronts of the thighs inwards. If you can reach down to the floor, then do. Projecting the chin and the chest forwards, really activating those legs. The more you activate the legs, the more you turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, the backs of the thighs outwards, the more you will find space in your hips. Project the chin and the chest forwards. If you can bring your hands either side of the feet, fingernails in line with the toenails, keeping the heart area lifted, keeping the head lifted, and bring the palms of the hands down. So keep the head lifted, keep the heart area lifted, or you just come back to wherever felt kind of most doable for you this morning. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Okay, and then just walk your hands forwards, and then we're going to go back into dog down. So press the palms into the floor, step the feet apart so that the feet are hip width apart. So you never do dog down with feet together. Never in a typical one anyway. Sometimes you might do it for a specific reason, but hips apart, so feet apart, hips broad, turn the fronts of the thighs inwards. Keep breathing in through the nose and into the lungs. Do a few Udanic flushing breaths. And then go back to normal breathing, normal pranic breaths. And then come down onto your knees, have the feet together, the knees apart, just come back and sit down onto your heels. Just observe the lightness of your energy that you released through your practice so far. Just normal pranic breaths. Just listening to the sound of the breath.
come forwards into Adho Mukha Virasana, just a really gentle forward bend, but try and keep the seat bones in contact with the heels. Make sure the knees are wide enough apart so that you can bring your chest through. And then bring your hand underneath your shoulders, push yourself up into a seated position. And then just come back up onto your heels, just sitting back on your heels. Just observing the energy that you have released through your practice so far. Just listening to the breath, listening to the inhalation and the exhalation. Okay, just come onto all fours for rajakapotasana. So you have your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. Just use the moment just to bring your breath back to a normal rhythm. Bring your right knee forwards, bringing it in contact with the right wrist. Bring the right foot underneath the left thigh, underneath the left hip, and then stretch that left leg away. Come up onto the fingertips. Work that back leg like you were doing Tadasana, turning the front of the thigh inwards so that you can feel the back of the thigh broaden outwards, so that you can feel that the hips become level. Lift from the abdomen into the diaphragm, into the collarbone and into the chin. Pointing into the toes of that left foot, pushing the knees away from each other. Keeping that back leg in Tadasana, keeping the hips level. And then bring the palms flat onto the floor, turn your toes under, and then just sit yourself, just come back onto all fours. Just observe the pose in its center. Just observe your energy. Draw your left knee to make contact with the left wrist, bringing the left foot underneath the right thigh and hip, and then walk that right leg away as far as you can. Come up onto the fingertips to dasanarize that back leg, bring in the hips level, lengthen from the abdomen into the diaphragm, into the collarbone, into the chin, feeling that good stretch of the abdomen. Pushing the knees away from each other. And then bring the palms flat down onto the floor, turn your toes under, and then just walk your back leg in. Just come back into all fours, just have a little swing of the hips, just allowing the side hips really open with each
swing. Okay, and then come back down onto your back, lift up into your chest, elevating your heart area upwards, just allowing the body to release into the floor, or the knees to release into the floor, and the rest of the body to rise up out of the floor. So we're going to do a restorative pose. So you'll need a bolster. If you haven't got a bolster, you can just use some cushions. So you have a bolster for underneath your knees, and then we're going to get a folded blanket, and then the way that you fold it for just, kind of sitting on or putting your head on is like that. So it's that kind of quite thick fold. I want you to unfold that and then fold it down the middle but in the opposite direction. So you've got this kind of long, kind of fat blanket like that. And then that's going to go along there. That's going to go for your shoulder blades. We're going to do the pose which is called mountain brook, which is just really, really good for energy. It's a great pose for just releasing your energy. So you've got the bolster underneath your knees, and then you're going to come down onto the floor, and then it's just the folded blanket is just going to go underneath your shoulder blade region. And then you might want to cover yourself up if you might be chilly. You might want a blanket or something, and then you just rest your arms. You rest your head on the floor, rest your arms over your head. I like to hold one hand in the other, just to keep everything compact. And then you just allow yourself to release down. So the bolster is underneath the knees, the folded blanket is underneath the shoulder blades. So it really opens up the front chest, it opens up the armpit chest. And then restorative poses are poses that don't require you to extend. Instead, you need to relax. So try to release into the floor. Give yourself permission to relax. The energizing properties of this pose really pay off, but you have to relax into it. So give yourself permission to let go. Give yourself permission to become heavy, to release into the floor. Because restorative poses are relaxation poses effectively. I'll stop speaking so that you're not having to listen. You can just spend the time to relax. And just swap the way that you hold your hands together every now and then, just to bring some contrast. Just let go and release into the floor. If you're not comfortable, don't bear discomfort. Just adjust the position until you are comfortable.
Okay, bring your arms back down to the sides of the body. Just bend your knees, bring your feet onto the bolster, and then just roll yourself over to the right side, and then push yourself up into a seated position. Just come into cross legs for a moment. Just hold onto your knees and just acknowledge the feeling of energy that you released around the shoulders and around the neck. Just gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Lift Mula Bandha, lift the anal sphincter up towards the diaphragm region. Just fill the lungs from the bottom to the top. Empty the lungs from the top to the bottom. Lifting Mula Bandha, maintaining Jalandhara Bandha, the connection between the chin and the chest. Allow the feeling of the inhalation, the energy of the inhalation to radiate through the arms and the legs and the chest. And then release Mula Bandha, release Jalandhara Bandha. Just hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose.
And then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across and your ribs and your shoulders. And then come back to the center. So hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest, and then turn to the left. Just drawing your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders, keeping the neck soft. And then gently come back to the center. So just unfold your blanket, just fold it like a little pillow. We're going to just finish off in shavasana. Just need to plug my laptop in. So we're going to finish in shavasana, but with the bolster on top of the legs, on top of the thighs. It just helps you to really relax your legs. So come down onto the floor. Just make sure you're in a really good straight line. Have the blanket underneath your head, and then just rest your bolster on top of your thighs. Just close your eyes and allow the body to release into the floor. Just be conscious of the energy of your breath, inhalation and exhalation. Allow the body to unhook at the muscles of the arms and the legs, so that the body becomes heavy on the floor. And in turn, that heaviness perhaps manifests as a genuine sensation of lightness that radiates from the bones. Radiates from the bones and into the muscles and the organs. And the flesh and the skin. So just feel that you are filling your energy with positive healing energy. Just allow the body to just fill with positive energy, using your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute that feeling of energetic lightness down into the toes and into the fingers and up into the top of the head. basking in that feeling of energetic lightness. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. And then bend your knees, just move the bolster off your knees, bring your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then roll over onto your right side, just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just come into cross legs with your hands in Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Draw your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. The samanic breath. Just becoming conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning. A good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the restorative poses bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Connecting the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb, just a gesture of wisdom and intelligence and peacefulness that we can carry into our day. And then raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open, and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you've really lifted your energy and you've given yourself some good positive energy to